Ever really stopped to think about it? What's actually happening inside you when you get sick? Well, today, we're going to dive into this incredible, microscopic story, the story of how a virus takes over our bodies, one single cell at a time. It's basically a tale of biological piracy on an epic scale.
See, a virus isn't just some random germ floating around. No, you gotta think of it as the ultimate biological pirate. It's unbelievably efficient, totally ruthless, and it's designed for one thing and one thing only: to hijack your cells.
And what's just wild is the scale we're talking about. A virus is so tiny it makes a single bacterium look like an absolute giant. And yet this invisible little thing has the power to bring the entire world to a screeching halt. So the big question is, how on earth does it do it?
Okay, so to understand the hijack, we first have to get to know the hijacker. And this is where things start to get, well, a little weird. A virus, you see, it exists in this strange gray area. It's not quite alive, but it's not just a machine either.
And that right there is the central puzzle of a virus. It can't grow on its own. It can't eat. It can't make its own energy. If it's outside of a living cell, it's basically just a lifeless particle. So how in the world does this dormant little thing cause so much trouble for us?
Well, the secret is right there in its official, kind of scary-sounding name. It's an obligate intracellular parasite. All that fancy science speak really means is that it has to get inside a living cell to do anything at all. I love this analogy. Think of a virus like a dry bean. Just sitting there on its own, it's totally dormant, right? Lifeless. But plant that bean in the rich, fertile soil of one of your cells, and bam, it suddenly springs to life.
All right, so the virus has found its soil. Now it's got to get inside. And this isn't some brute force attack, smashing down the door. No. This is a sophisticated break-in. We're talking about picking the very specific lock on your cell's front door.
It does this using something called the lock and key mechanism. The virus is covered in these little proteins that are shaped like a very specific key, and it just kind of floats around in your body until it bumps into the exact perfectly shaped lock on the surface of one of your cells. This is a huge deal, by the way. It's why different viruses make us sick in different places. A cold virus has keys that only fit the locks on cells in, say, your nose and throat, not the ones on your liver or your kidneys.
So once that key slides into the lock, the invasion begins. It happens in 3 basic steps. First, attachment. The virus latches on tight. Second, entry. It actually tricks the cell into letting it in, either by swallowing it whole or by fusing right into it. And then the final step, uncoating. The virus drops its disguise, sheds its protective coat, and releases its only real weapon, its genetic instructions.
And right there, that's the moment everything changes. Those viral instructions are now inside. And that cell, it's not yours anymore. It's just been commandeered. It's about to be turned into a full-blown virus factory.
There's another great analogy for this. Think of the virus as a pirate that's just boarded a massive ship. That ship is your cell. The pirate takes the entire crew hostage and tells them stop all your normal jobs. Instead, they're forced to use the ship's own supplies, its own wood and tools, to build hundreds of brand new, smaller pirate ships. And you can see that complete takeover right here. It's like a before and after. On one side, you've got a normal, healthy cell, a real team player doing all its jobs for the body. But on the other side, you've got the hijacked cell. It's got a new boss and a new to-do list. And its only jobs now are to read the virus's instructions and use every bit of its own energy and resources to build a massive army of new viruses.
But wait, your body doesn't just sit back and take this. Not a chance. It has an incredibly powerful and sophisticated security system. And the second that first cell gets hijacked, the alarms start blaring. And this is so important to understand. Most of what you actually feel when you're sick, the aches, the fever, the sore throat, that's not the virus itself. That's the feeling of your own body going to war. Your immune system basically has 2 main arms. First up, you've got the innate system. Think of these guys as the first responders, the police on the beat. They're fast, they're aggressive, and they just attack anything that looks suspicious. Then, you've got the adaptive system. These are the special forces. They take a little longer to gear up, a few days maybe, but when they arrive, they bring the heavy artillery. They deploy specialized cells like B cells, which crank out custom-made antibody missiles, and T cells, which are like trained assassins that hunt down and eliminate infected cells. And the best part? This system has a memory. It remembers the enemy for next time.
So, that miserable sore throat or that stuffy nose you get? Yeah, that's inflammation. It's literally the sign of a battle going on.
Your body is doing this on purpose. It widens your blood vessels to rush immune cells to the area. That's what causes the redness and heat. It even makes those vessels a little leaky so the cellular soldiers can get out into the tissue to fight, and that's what causes the swelling. It's all part of the battle plan.
And what about fever? This is really cool. It seems there's a kind of Goldilocks temperature for a fever. A mild fever, right around 39 degrees Celsius, that's about 102 Fahrenheit, is actually a good thing. Turns out, it creates an environment that's just too hot for many viruses to copy themselves very well. And at the same time, it puts your own immune response into overdrive. Your body is literally turning up the heat on the invaders.
So, while this huge battle is raging on, the work inside those hijacked factories is finishing up. Thousands upon thousands of new virus copies have been assembled, and they are ready to launch. It is time for the Great Escape. Okay, and how they escape is really important because viruses basically fall into two big categories. You've got your enveloped viruses like the flu or coronaviruses. When they leave the cell, they steal a piece of its fatty outer membrane to use as a disguise. But this actually makes them pretty fragile. Then you have non-enveloped viruses, like the ones that cause a common cold or a stomach bug. They just have a tough protein shell. No disguise, but it makes them incredibly tough, able to survive for a long time on doorknobs and countertops.
And that is exactly why we're always told to wash your hands. Soap is the absolute kryptonite for those fragile enveloped viruses. The soap molecules literally get in there and rip apart that fatty outer layer, completely destroying them. It's such a simple thing, but it's just incredibly effective chemistry at work. So there you have it. The entire journey of a virus, from a simple dormant particle to a master cellular hijacker, sparking an all-out war inside your body. It's this amazing testament to ruthless efficiency. Just a tiny package of genetic code that completely blurs the line between life and machine. And it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What else can these ultimate biological machines teach us about ourselves?